Bounty hunting is a complicated profession. Don't you agree?
The Cynic Radio Podcast.
Hi, I'm Chad L. Coleman, Tyrese from The Walking Dead, and Cuddy from The Wire, and you are listening to the Cynic Radio Podcast. Here are your hosts, Cynic.
Hey, the facts are Spider-Man belongs in the MCU. Sony was delusional thinking they didn't need Marvel, and now he's back. And we, the fans, are 100% proudly responsible for that.
Agree?
As long as DC wants to make dark and gritty movies, they're going to lag behind Marvel in every category.
And Ryan.
Batman vs. Superman is objectively better than Infinity War.
This is the greatest show of all time.
We are back yet again, and this is episode 171 of the Cynic Radio Podcast, and I'm your co-host Cynic, and joining me, as always, two guys who spend all their days off at the mall, Avery and Ryan. And on this week's show, we are breaking down episode 7 of The Last of Us, entitled Left Behind. Let's talk about it, Ryan.
All right, so this is one of those episodes which we've gotten a couple times on The Last of Us where a lot happens, but a lot doesn't happen. So we're not going to go step by step with all the things in the episode, but kind of just talk about our, a little bigger picture view of everything. So episode 7, which is titled Left Behind, takes us back to before Joel and Ellie went on their journey. Ellie's friend and roommate Riley whisks her away in the middle of the night to take her to the mall, and what amounts to basically a first date. And so from the very first episode, this show gives us characters that we connect to, and then they brutally kill them off. It's like it seems to be a theme almost every episode. Did Riley resonate? So Cynic, let's say start with you. Did Riley resonate with you as much as, let's say, Bill, Frank, Sarah, and many of the other characters that we've gotten like kind of one and done so far?
Initially, no. But by the end of the episode, most definitely. I mean, they have a way of doing it. But it's more through Ellie, really. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't based off, because we didn't know anything about her. We didn't know anything about her life other than she was in the Fedra camp with Ellie, and, they became friends and she wandered off. But I mean, through Ellie, yeah, she mattered. She was everything.
Yeah. Ig, how about you? Did she resonate with you as much?
I think I'm much the same way. Like, she was really well acted and it was really fun to watch and everything. But, she was just a side character initially. Like, it didn't really matter. It's like, you don't fight, your friend fights, and then like the friend shows up and it's like, let's go on and do this thing. And it's really, again, maybe it's partially because I'm sitting here thinking, what the hell is happening to Joel? Like, we're doing all this, and I'm more concerned about Joel, but like by the end of the episode, I'm taken away from that, and they go back to it, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, Joel, shit. Yeah. So they did a really good job of really kind of building a relationship in a short amount of time. Not quite as good as Bill and Frank, but it was still really well done.
We'll get to that, actually, the idea of like, what's going on with Joel, and that I have a couple questions on that later on. But Cynic, does the show run? This is, again, like the fourth time that we've gotten characters that are very well developed, that connect not only with us, but with characters in the show, which makes them connect with us better. I think part of what this show is all about relationships. And I think what makes this show work is not necessarily how charismatic the characters are to us, but how they connect with the characters that we care about. And it's done it several times where we get these characters. We care about these characters. We care about their connection to our favorite characters, and then they're killed off. Does it run the risk of desensitizing you? Like, is it as much of a gut punch when it happens the fourth, fifth, sixth time? Does that start to become a problem when this keeps happening with the show?
Well, I've been punched several times in the gut. I mean, in life. And it hurts no less if you're not expecting it and when you are expecting it. And it's very much like that in this show. I know the gut punch is coming, and I fall for it every single time. Now, mind you, we're only 7 episodes in with probably, 2 more to go for this season and however further they push out. But they're going to get me every single time because I'm a sap and I love love. You know, that's changed in my life where I was very cynical when it came to emotional relationships, but they've opened that door. Like Frank said in Always Sunny, you unzip me, Doc. Well, Duckman is unzip me. And every single time that we get a character to love and he takes away our toy, I'm an emotional mess for the next couple hours.
So I think we all grew up with arcades being a pretty significant part of our lives. I think, you know, this is pre having video game systems that are as advanced and crazy as they are now. So Ig, how amazing, how happy would you have been to have been in an arcade by yourself with complete free access to all the coins?
Oh my God. That would have been like a dream come true. I mean, when I was in college, I was still like playing video games because like they had my college had a small arcade at it, and they had a Mortal Kombat 1 machine because that's how long ago I went to school. And it was so much fun. Like I remember going and playing so many games at arcades and waiting in line and putting your quarter up on the screen to get your turn, and like the trust that nobody was going to steal your quarter or take your turn or anything was there. And the games were so simplistic, but it was just intriguing. And like you would stand and watch. There was always somebody at the arcade that was like an expert, and like people would gather around and watch and everything. And all you wanted to do was play that game and try and do what that guy did. And to just have free reign to run around and play whatever, whenever, as many times as you want. There's all the coins you could possibly hope for to dump into these machines that, you know, and they're showing even at the time, like this is true meaning of inflation. You go to any arcade now and it's $1 minimum per anything you play, and they're dropping a quarter in, they get a credit, they get to play 1 quarter. And that's how it used to be. You drop a quarter and you get to play. And I was just taken aback, and maybe it's because I'm old, but it was a really fun thing to watch, and to just be able to go back and have that innocence in those games and those fatalities when they were first seen and everything, like that would have been a lot of fun.
Cynic, your go-to arcade game.
Oh, there was a WWF wrestling game that I absolutely loved that I can never find the emulator for.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. I mean, there were some of those games in that arcade that I had actually played. So I was like, oh, I played that one, I played that one. But the cool part about it wasn't just the idea of the arcade, but the idea that Ellie had never seen one.
Yeah.
Never seen an escalator, which, by the way, the escalators, even 20 years later, are working in that mall when at Penn Station, we can't get them to work for a day straight. So I want to know who put those in, because we need those over where I work. But yeah, that was the great part about it, was just the level of fascination, because all of this was brand new to her.
Yeah. Well, Bella Ramsey's performance is great for a number of reasons, but I love like wonder at things that she's experiencing for the first time. You know, seeing a plane for the first time, or an escalator. Like she really plays that kind of like that awe at seeing the world that's somebody would have if they grown up hearing about some of these things but not actually seeing it. So I really enjoyed it. I love that one thing. I'm sure everyone kind of popped at the, you know, how do you play this game? Just mash the buttons. I think anyone who's played games probably loved that moment.
Well, that's really my perspective on every game, and that's how Ig and I became friends, because he's so much better than me at everything we play, other than baseball. But he's so much better than me at everything we play. It's just like, all right, well, I'll just stand back and let him do it, and you know, I'll reap some of
the rewards.
Yeah, exactly.
So much of the undercurrent of the show has been this kind of tug of war between Fedra and the Fireflies, or Fedra and other organizations. I know we've talked about it before, and we see it kind of manifested in this tension between Ellie and Riley joining the Fireflies, and Ellie, you know, on track to be, you know, a soldier basically with Fedra. What do you think about the show's kind of presentation of these two groups? Does it feel like there is one clear villain in this situation? And Cynic, which side would you be on?
Well, I mean, we got to ask the good people of Kansas City if there's a villain in this this equation, because I think they would say Fedra. Mm-hmm. No, they really haven't. I mean, it's really a matter of who's holding the gun. It's a question of perspective. I mean, I'm sure that there's good with Fedra being all over the country, wherever there are quarantine zones. I'm sure there's good Fedra and bad Fedra, because it's not one united front anymore. It seems like every camp is kind of running for itself. If not, then, you know, places like Kansas City would have sent reinforcements, or they would have sent reinforcements to Kansas City to try to shore things back up. So it seems like each QZ is kind of on their own.
Well, they don't have the air travel like they used to have to get reinforcements somewhere in a real quick movement. So it's one of those things where I think Fedra is trying to just keep people alive, right? And knowing what, like, we just have to be very militant about it. And the Fireflies are trying to give people back some freedoms and say, you know, we've learned how to survive in this world. Just let us survive. Stop having these QZs and let us like develop land again. Like, you know, figure out a way to stop the spread of whatever fungus that is killing everyone. And so I think they're both right and they're both wrong, because the way they go about things isn't diplomatic. It isn't, you know, friendly. It isn't even democratic. And I guess I see the reason for it to not be democratic, but I also see that, you know, both sides have a point. You know, it's not as clear as like Empire Rebellion. You know, it's a little more nuanced than that. So maybe they're both right, maybe they're both wrong. And I don't know that I would want to be a part of either side. But I guess if I had to pick a side, I guess I would almost always pick on the side of more freedom. So probably Fireflies.
Okay. So much like episode 3, we get a genuine love story. But unlike that, the Bill and Frank episode, this one really does end tragically. I think with Bill and Frank, you know, we got to see this love story that endures through the apocalypse, and that they get an ending that, you know, it's not a perfect happy ending, but they get an ending that is on their terms, where for Ellie and Riley, you know, they have their first kiss and this agreement to kind of figure things out. And then they're attacked, bitten, and, you know, basically, you know, whether they got a few hours or days, like, you know, this love story was over. No, I think we all saw this coming, but Cynic, did it work for you? Like, did it hit when this happens, that you get this love story, they kiss, and then it's all over in an instant?
Yeah, I mean, it worked. It was brief. It wasn't very drawn out. It was, but you felt the feelings between them two. And I really kind of felt for Ellie when she took the shot and kissed her. And, you know, Riley returned the acknowledged that it was okay, and she got the huge smile on her face. I mean, I've never had the guts to just make that first move. So seeing her do that, like, I was really excited for her that it did work out. And yeah, I bought the love story. I mean, I was all in. I wanted to see them make it, even though I knew they weren't going to.
Yeah, Ig, your thoughts on that? Like, did it hit or work for you? Well,
They've done a great job in this series of making the attachments, even though they're going to be temporary attachments, mean something. So yeah, it hit. And it's one of those things where, you know, they're children and they're around people, but they're kind of alone because they're both kind of loners and they're doing their own thing, but somehow they find each other and they mean something to each other. So it turns into one of those things that it's a beautiful thing to see and a tragic thing to watch end so quickly.
Yeah.
But I think it really does matter that they're able to show that even in a world that is horrifically falling apart, they're able to still have connections. And that's the world we live in. Like, even when things are going bad, there's going to be people making connections. Even in the middle of war zones, people are going to be falling in love and finding each other. And I like when they show those kind of things and don't just thrive on the chaos that would normally be just, you know, an action show. They need to have these moments, and even whole episodes like they did this with Bill and Frank, and now with this one, I'm glad they're doing it, because it adds a whole different layer of nuance and humanity to the show.
So that's actually interesting you bring this up. So I'm going to compare this to Game of Thrones for a second, and it'll make sense in a minute. So with Game of Thrones, one of the strong things about the show, especially the first, like, let's say 6 seasons, was that, you know, we had 10 episodes and there was very clear momentum being built, that, you know, as you got towards 8, 9, and 10, you were really reaching a crescendo. You're really reaching this climax. There was a really big build that you get to episode 9, and that was the big episode. And maybe you got 10 is even a little bit more payoff. One critique I might have about this is that this is the second bottle episode that we've gotten. So this is the second episode where we get a story that's not part of the main narrative. At least it's not driving the main story. So So does that kind of threaten to have this happen too much, Cynic? Do you feel like it kills a bit of the momentum? And do you feel like there even is momentum? Do we know where we're going or what's happening to the story? For somebody who hasn't, let's say, played the game or knows innately like what's going on, like, do you feel like it maybe kills some of the momentum to have a story like this, no matter how good it is?
Well, we have a question if anybody's played the game. I've just finished the game and I'm getting into the additional chapters, and I understand what the person commenting is talking about. I'm actually not with you on this one because I think it was perfectly done because they bookended it with Joe content on either end. They showed us why she felt the same way when he pushed her away and told her to go. Like, there was that brief hesitation of her thinking about leaving, and then she, changed her mind, ran upstairs, and tried to find a perfect supplies to patch Joe up. So, I thought it was kind of a good idea because we're going into in the 8th and 9th episode a completely different story arc that'll probably take both episodes to get through. So yeah, I think they were kind of ending the journey at that point, leaving us with a little bit of suspense, but also getting us ready for something much bigger coming.
Yeah, no, that's not even for me. It's like I'm hopeful. I think this show's been done so well that I'm hopeful that it will keep going and that we'll get something, a great finale as we kind of chug on towards the end of the season. But it was just kind of concerning that I feel like there isn't that momentum of feeling like, okay, I know where our characters are going. Like right now, I know Joel is not in a good place, and Ellie's got to care for him. But wondering, like, are we going to get, does this build to like a big high point in episodes 9 and 10?
Well, we're only going to get 9 episodes, so it's 8 and 9. But
okay, so we got 2 more.
Yeah, but we are definitely IMDb. I think still shows 10 episodes, which isn't accurate. But the person commenting, there's a lot of big and creepy things about to happen going forward. I don't think we're going to get through the first game in these next 2 episodes. I think we're just going to get to this next arc, this next storyline, and it's pretty big, and parts of it are pretty disturbing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good to know. So, but again, I think this show's been knocking each episode out the park so much that I'm fully on board and excited about what happens. So, no, as Cynic, as somebody who's played the game, do you feel like how do you feel like it compares now that you finished it? Do you feel like they've done the choices and the changes that they've made have worked and been effective?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the closest to source material that we've come across, whether it be video games or whether it be books, or they've really stayed true and they've kept it to the action scenes or the cut scenes, which work out. Nobody wants to spend time on a Sunday night watching Joel swim to a pallet to get Ellie across the lake. So yeah, they have stuck close to the story. They haven't changed a lot, and the things they have changed, they've made better.
Yeah. All right. Well, so again, this is an episode we didn't get a ton happening, but the show ends with Ellie basically making the decision to stay with him. So I think as much as the episode 3 was about Joel and making his decision, I think this episode was about Ellie and her making her decision to stay with Joel and be his protector for the time being. So Ig, can you give me your final thoughts and rating for the episode?
I honestly think if she would have left at that point, even though he told her to leave, like that would have been a really kind of screwy thing to do. Like she basically forced her way into making him take her down there, right? She's like, he gave her the choice. You can go with Tommy or you can go with me. I figure it's your choice. And she like you're going with me, Joel. Like, I don't want Tommy. I want Joel. Like, and it's like, okay, I'm hurt now. So you leave. And she'd have been like, okay, cool. See you later. That would have been really, really shitty. And I didn't think that was going to happen. Like, I'm just more concerned about, like, is he going to turn septic? Is she going to have to find medicine? Are they going to show that she got the training to be able to handle wounds or something? Did they do it like Starship Trooper style, where they mess people up and like stab them in the hands and break bones and stuff, and then just scream medic and teach people how to fix these problems? But they didn't do that. They went to this episode, and while I wanted to see, what the federal training was like, how effective she might be if given the opportunity to do things, I was way happier that they gave us what they did. Seeing like somebody coming across arcades and merry-go-rounds and stores and things for the first time has, it was really an amazing thing to do. And even more than that, having the personal connection with somebody that, you know, ended so tragically, but was beautiful in its inception and beautiful to watch happen. I was really, really happy with how that went about, and it was a lot of fun, and it was interesting, and it was entertaining, and it was heartbreaking, and it was love shown all over the screen. So while they didn't do what I hoped and wanted for them to do, they took a turn that was even better. And I don't know if they had all of this in the cutscenes in the game or anything, because I've been waiting to play the game because I didn't want to get spoiled for the show. So I'm going to play the game. I've purchased it. I'm going to play it as soon as I'm done with the season so that I'm not spoiled. But I've really enjoyed this so far. It's been really well done. Pedro Pascal, even in this, like, you know, momentary things that he had in this episode, he was amazing. But like Ellie just knocks it out of the park. Like, I couldn't imagine that they could have casted anyone better in any role that they've done in this show so far. Everything has been really well done. So I'm really excited for the last 2 episodes. I expect that there's going to be some absolute batshit crazy things that are going to happen. And I have no guesses at this point. Like, I've had some guesses, and some have been right and some have been wrong going up to this point. At this point, I am so lost and I don't know what's going to happen that I'm going into it completely blind, and I'm just very excited. So I guess this episode, like, it's a little bit of a down episode for me just because of the amount of movement toward the last few episodes. But I'm still going to give it an 8.5. I still loved it. It was still great. I can't put it up there with the Bill and Frank episode at the 9, because it's not quite that endearing, and it was over too quickly. So I'm going to give it an 8.5.
All right. I was going to lambaste you. 8.5 is good. Our friend at Derpy Entertainment is talking about the DLC, and that actually, before we came on, I was telling you guys about that it covers this particular episode. So, I mean, listen, this episode had a little bit of everything. I love the fact that they used actual stores in the mall. It made it feel more real to me. You know, seeing a Best Buy and seeing a Target, and that was kind of cool. I like that. And it also had a-ha's Take on Me. I mean, you can't get a better song for a mall than that particular song. The love story landed. Storm Reed stood toe-to-toe with Bella Ramsey in every single scene they were in. I know that there's been a lot of bias and a lot of people with a problem with the gay scenes or the gay content and within the show. And I really honestly hope that the way that they're doing this maybe opens some eyes, because I'll tell you what, if Ellie was my daughter, I would be happy as fuck, and I wouldn't give a shit that she liked girls. And I really hope that people open their eyes to the fact that none of this in the grand scheme of things matter. Like, love your kids regardless of who they are or how they turn out or how you feel they should live their lives. But yeah, I mean, it was quick. It was very Romeo and Juliet. I loved it. And knowing that Ellie probably had to put Riley out of her misery at the end just kind of broke my heart. The stuff with Joel is still, even though I know what happens, it hasn't spoiled it for me. It more like ups the anticipation. So I'm going to give this episode a 9.5. I thought Left Behind landed in every single category.
Yeah, I'm right up there with you. I think this was a great singular episode. I know I mentioned some of my concerns more around the show as a whole, but I think you and Derpy Entertainment have given me some confidence that the next few episodes are going to be bat crap crazy, and I'll be fine with that. But no, I think this is a great episode of TV. Much like episode 3, it felt like a kind of funhouse mirror version of episode 3. I think episode 3 was really meant for Joel. Like, it all built towards that letter to Joel, in which Joel makes his decision to take Ellie and to take her on and to take on this mission. And this was the episode where we got context and color on Ellie, but it also informs her decision on helping Joel. The showrunner said as much, and that this was really an important episode important for us to see why she does struggle with these ideas of abandonment, and why she does make that decision to protect him, part out of self-preservation, but part out of love. And I think not wanting to lose, another person. And so I think it really works. And it's a great kind of way to, great to juxtapose this against the Bill and Frank episode. I think also it's the Funhouse Mirror version because Bill and Frank get decades of a love story, and Ellie and Riley get a few hours maybe, and so it's really a tragic love story. They get one beautiful evening, and that's it. I think there was wonderful chemistry between Bella Ramsey and Storm Reed, and again, I just think it's just a great love story. This show continues to have just amazing character work, and an amazing demonstration of relationships between people. And I think, as I've said before, this show is really about love and the strange places that you find it, and it's about love and loss and the strange places that you find and or lose it, and it continues to do that. So this episode, it's not quite episode 3, which got a 10 from me, but 9.5. I might have some concerns about bottle episodes this late into a season, but I mean, again, this is a fantastic episode of TV, and again, show continuing to knock these episodes out the park.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's episode 7 of The Last of Us. We're going to be back next week with episode 8, hopefully, Mandalorian episode 1, and Creed 3. So you can find us at all the socials at Cynic Radio. You can questions, comments, concerns. If you want to make fun of my hats, email us at cynicradio@gmail.com. IG, until next time.
Don't get captured.
Follow the podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and at cynicradio.com. Available for download on iTunes.